Acclaimed broadcaster Joe Mulhern here. I really poured my all into this final episode. But apparently I poured too much, seeing as my phone no longer interfaces with the microphones we use at GNHS-TV. So I've been using every tool of the trade to alleviate this issue. For example, the audio you are currently hearing is coming straight from my Chromebook. As you could imagine, this is not the best thing for audio quality, nor is it for visual clarity. Transferring between different editing softwares is really bad for the frame rate. So, yeah, I did all I could with the audio post-processing. Forward Joe out. Hey, North Knights. With the school year coming to a close, the ancient Latin phrase Timor mortis conturbat me, quia in inferno nulla est redemptio, miserere mei, Deus, et salva me comes to mind, which, for our sake, means finals are coming up. Or with my extravagant timing, they probably already happened. For some of us, that means...
For you, but everyone would have aged out at 26 years.
And, well, for others, that means... But one thing that unites us all is final projects, which, in my humble opinion, better demonstrate what a student knows than the actual standardized tests. So, for what is essentially my final project for broadcast journalism, I'm doing a final on finals. Symmetry. Now, this episode is a celebration of all the amazing final projects teachers have crafted over the years. That being said, not to sound like I'm picking favorites, but I can't, do them all. I mean, look at the art department. That being said, the social studies department is kind of why I made this video in the first place.
Yeah, so for many years now, I've been doing an escape room project, and it's kind of morphed over the years in what it's looked like. Originally, I wanted to find a way just to engage kids in real-world skills, the creativity and collaboration, critical thinking, and just something that got them excited to learn.
The final project for U.S. history is a choice project. It's the same both first and second semester. So there's just different content in the actual project. We have 3 to 4 questions that we ask. Students choose one of those questions to answer. They choose any 3 topics from the semester, and then they can choose what kind of project. So all put together very nicely by Miss Wise a couple years ago. But we have basically any type of project you want to create that covers our topics and our questions, you can do it.
So originally I had started with different things you learn from second semester to create this room. Over the years I started morphing that more in a topic from the 20th century. And so a topic from the 20th century, this gives a little bit more freedom and flexibility for students to still pursue something that they're interested about, tie it back to history, learn about primary sources, secondary sources, do the research, but also get to do cool things like 3D print stuff, using invisible ink, riddles, locks, and just really get to even build things with their hands, which I think is really cool to tie in all those different things.
I started here about 4 years ago, and our first year we still had a choice project, but it was a little bit different. It was a little bit more in depth for research, and it did take, I think, my first or second year when I came in. Miss Bristow and I worked very hard with Miss Wise. She helped us to kind of craft and organize what the questions looked like, and we knew what our topics were, and we've had some really awesome projects over the years.
Now, it is hard to come up with final projects, especially for math. The class where you're just solving equations for whether it be like x's, y's, thetas, variables, integrals, derivatives, coefficients, hypotenuse, what have you. But there is one math class that managed to pull off a creative final, and it's nothing like a regular math class.
So it's very different from other math classes. So geometry and construction is an alternative to normal geometry class. What we do is we take the curriculum from geometry, And we really compress it down and take out a lot of the more obscure things, and we just laser focus in on the content of a geometry class that'll be applicable to some small woodworking projects, but also whole scale, some larger construction builds like in houses and other commercial buildings. So our students have worked through the math curriculum at a quicker pace, as I mentioned, and our final project every year is to do a large full-size build. So our students have experimented over the winter time when it was too cold to be outside with some scale model builds, and we are now working outside, working on our full-size sheds. So what students are doing is taking all their measuring skills and all of their construction skills and other geometry components, specifically looking at perpendicular lines because we're building rectangular sheds, so everything needs to be forming right angles. We're using diagonals to check for square. We're applying a lot of our geometry concepts to something like a full construction build like our sheds that we're doing.
Next up is the science department. For a field so broad, there's a lot of things students can choose to do for their final project. So what do teachers do to alleviate such broad scopes?
So this is something I thought about, gosh, I think 15 years ago. Had a couple students come back and, they were saying they didn't learn anything in their whatever class as a freshman or their whatever class as a sophomore. And I was like, man, what a shame if they really feel like they didn't learn something. So I wanted to end the year with something that they could take with them. And then also, with all the AP testing, it was kind of like, how do you manage who's here, who's not here? Do we do a lab? Do I lecture? All that stuff. So I was like, why don't we do this thing where they need to do some information from physics that we learned in class and then some information in physics we haven't learned. And inevitably, it ends up being a really good way for them to help each other study for finals. So they get about a 3-week period of studying for finals as they listen to all sorts of different real-life topics.
Well, final exams, have really sort of changed since COVID. So we kind of do more unit level assessments at the end of the semester, but in physical science specifically, we'll be learning about simple machines and building a Rube Goldberg project, a simple machine project that accomplishes a task. So that's a fun way to kind of end the year and apply what you've learned. I know in earth science, we actually did this, so it wasn't a final experience. Was we set up a green screen with Mr. New's help. The kids got to kind of go to a back booth in the classroom and just kind of report the weather. They didn't know what map they were going to get. We had learned all about interpreting maps, interpreting the wind, where it's clear, where it's cloudy, where's the precipitation, where are the fronts, what are the temperatures like across the map, and just have them sort of perform on camera. Really, kind of authentic learning experience.
And last, but certainly not actually last, there's a lot of departments I skipped over. It's English. For a department that is one half reading comprehension and the other half creative writing, it is no shock that this department is full of creative projects. For example, you're watching one right now. That being said, with so many, it was hard to choose. If only there was someone to ask.
So we have a couple of different classes that are running. I think everyone likes to end the year on a project, which is awesome because, makes it easier for all of us. Just in terms of something different from your prototypical essay. A few that stand out in sophomore English, they're ending on podcasts. And so they're bringing in this new element where they'll use the podcast studio downstairs in the hub and do a kind of interview session between students. I think that's in relation to Fahrenheit 451. And then so Mr. Green in our dual credit senior level class, he does this kind of large scale end of year project where students do write an essay, but it's about something that they're passionate about. Typically something that can be researched or debated in any way, shape, or form. They have to make a point. So one of a student that I know is doing something on women in journalism, and which whether they get as much views or credibility. And then they have to create an action project for the class to do. So they have to create something that is engaging and meaningful, kind of similar to teaching in a way, that pairs along with that research paper. And then a lot of other classes are just ending with like choice novels. So we give this kind of each class and each teacher, it's unique too, but around 20 to 30 different book options for students to choose. I always like that to end the year because it's a little bit more loose, and then maybe we can find, you know, we all know that students don't love to read all the time. Can we find one book for one student that maybe will turn that and they'll pick up another book after the fact?
Well, there you have it. Just a taste of some of the finals you may experience here at Grayslake North. Now, if I haven't made it obvious enough throughout the entire episode, thank you to all the teachers who have made such amazing final projects. Also, thank you to all the teachers who have horrible curriculums that were given by College Board and just can't really wedge a final project in there. Actually, you know what? Way simpler. Thank you, all teachers. Not to take too much from Walter Cronkite, but this is my passing of the baton. Many a senior have preceded me in this class, and anyone watching, I do hope you follow. It might not be the most practical class for college, but I assure you the ability to just try something new, even if you don't like it, and trust me, there were a lot of kids that dropped this class, it's valuable enough. Besides, I didn't want to join broadcast, and look at this. Pretty cool, right? Oh, and if you are joining broadcast, I do have a word of wisdom for you. Make sure you have backups for your interviews, or at the very least, make sure you are 100% certain you are able to interview that person. I had tons of episodes that will never see the light of day, all because I was missing one or two key interviewees. So, with that, I've been Joe Mulhern on GNHS-TV.